This is week 13, independent activity financial formulas. Suppose that you start working for a company at age 25. You are offered two other rather unlikely but quite enticing retirement plans from which you are allowed to choose one. Round all answers to the nearest dollar. Retirement Plan 1, you receive $18,000 for each year of service. Retirement Plan 2, when you start work, the company deposits $2,500 into a savings account that is guaranteed to pay a yearly rate of 16% when you retire. The account will be closed and the balance given to you. A, determine the amount you receive under Plan 1. If you retired at 55, so that would mean you would have 55 and your current age is 25, you have 30 years of service. So that's 30 times you'll get $18,000, which would be $540,000. If you retired at 65, that would mean 40 years of service, 65 minus 25. So that's 40 years of service times 18,000, which is $760. Under Plan 2, if you retired at age 55, that would mean 30 years of service. So that would be $2,500 times 1 plus 18. 16, my bad, times T, number of years, which is 30, and that will come to $214,625. And if you apply on a Plan 2 at 65, that's 40 years of service, so that would be $2,500 times 1 plus 0.16 times 40, which is $946,803. Number 2, you have $300,000 to be invested. Save for retirement. Your account earns 5% interest. How much are you able to pull out each month if you want to make withdrawals in 20 years? So here it is right here. You have a formula for it. I use the mortgage formula here to find a present value. Your payout. My bad. So I wrote on my phone, some value, some variables, and I plugged in, and the amount of the payout is $1,979.87. Or you can use this calculator here to do it. Now, sometimes the links work. I don't think I'll put them in the module. So when I click on this financial mortgage calculator, it says there are 300,000. And it says there are 20 years. And the rate is 5%. Payout should be $1,979.87. And if that's what they have there for number 2, go on to number 3. How much would you need to deposit in an account each month? Or let $20,000 in the account in 10 years. Assume 3% interest. So I can try this formula here. So my interest rate for number 3 is how much? 3% interest. And the life of it is 10 years. And it says there, monthly. Monthly. Payment amount $20,000. Okay, let's try this again. In order to have 20,000, so the future value is 20,000. Okay, and the payment frequency, monthly. The compounding frequency, I'll put that at monthly too. And the length of it is going to be how much? 10 years. And the interest rate is 3%. And you should have, the answer is $143.12. And that's number 3. Let's go on to number 4. You deposit $300 into each account each month into an account earning 2% interest compounded monthly. How much will be in the account in 5 years? Okay, and this is number 4 here. And future value of the annuity calculator. I should be able to click on this. So you can see I wrote out a formula for it, assigned values to my variables, and then I plugged in. In 15 years, so the life of that one is 15. The rate is 2%. Compounded monthly, and it's 12. Payment amount here is $300. The number of payments each period there, each year, it'll be 12. Hit calculate. And that was $62,913.92, and that's what they have there. Okay. And then the B part there, and there's that part there, and there's the calculator for it. Alright. How much money is in the account? Number of months times the number of years, the amount of payment. So 12 times 15 times 300 is 54,000. how much interest would you earn? The difference between the future value and the amount invested. 62,000 minus 54,000 gives me $8,913 and 92 cents for the answer there. And that takes care of number 4. Number 5. Okay. Now for this one here, there's another video you have to watch for this one here. There's the video, and then there's another calculator that's right here. Okay. So watch this video here, and then this one, and the video here is a YouTube video. Okay. And this one here is the actual calculator you would use. Okay. And number 6. The State Lotto has a prize that pays $2,000 each week for 40 years. Find the total value of the prize. Okay, the payout times the number of weeks times the number of years. I end up with $416,000 looks like. Alright, and here's your calculator that you would use. So your principal is 2,000, your rate is 8%, compounding periods every week, and the time interval is 40 years. So I wrote out my formula that I plugged in. I end up with $1,246,878.67. And or you can use this calculator here. So number 6. Number of periods is 40 years. The rate at 8%. Okay. And compounded monthly. Oh, it's weekly here. My bad. So it's 52 weeks in a year. For the amount of the payments. And 52 there. And I'm gonna put 2,000 here. And this one will be clear. And so this should give me the present value of $1,246,878.67 for that one there. Okay, and that takes care of number 6. Go on to number 7. You have $5,000 on a credit card that charges 15% interest rate if you want to pay off the credit card. In 5 years, how much do you need to pay each month, assuming you don't charge anything new to the card? So, yeah, your principal is $5,000, your rate is 15%. Your each month, so in this 12, the life of it is 5 years. And we want to find the amount of the payment, and here's our formula here. plugged into it, and I simplified it following the order of operations, and I end up with $118,949.65. Or I can use this link here. In this case here, his credit card balance is $5,000. Interest rate is 15%. And you want to pay it off in a certain lifetime, and they say they pay it off in 5 years. And you calculate. So $118.95 per month is needed to pay it off. And there's your answer there. And that's number 7. Go on to number 8. Here. The city is issuing bonds to raise money for a building project. You obtain $7,000 bond that pays 5% interest annually that matures in 9 years. How much interest will you earn? Okay. You use similar formula similar to like a PRT, where the interest is equal to the face value times the interest rate times the number of years you hold it. So I'll have 7,000 times 5%, 0.05, times the number of years I hold it is 9. So I end up with $3,150. And that's the end for number 8. For number 9, a friend lends you $700. You agree to pay him 2% interest. How much money will you pay? So problem 9 with simple interest formula. At first I find the first amount of interest. I is equal to PRT, where P is 700, R is 0.02, and T is 1. The amount of interest to have to repay is $14. The total amount that has to be paid back, principal plus the interest, is 700 plus 14, which is $714. Okay, and they ask you for the amount of interest, which is $14. And that's number 9. Number 10. Suppose you had a CD that paid 4.9% compounded monthly for 7 years. If you deposit $8,000 now, how much will you have in the account in 7 years? Round to the nearest penny. See here, I'm using compound interest formula. What my entered now is 8,000. My rate is 0.049 compounded monthly. So n is 12. Number of life is 7 years. So then I plug into it and I simplify it and end up with $11,265.48. Or you can use this link here. Compound interest calculator. Initial balance is 8,000. Interest rate here is 4.9%. For 7 years. So in this one here, you see the final balance is $11,268.48. The amount of interest is $3,265.48 there, and 48 cents there. Okay. And suppose you would like to have $20,000 in the account in 7 years. How much would you have to deposit now? Let's see here. Yeah. Well, here it's a different calculator. So here's my formula for it. present value formula for compound interest. So I'm solving for the present value here for 20,000. How much do I need to put in now? So it's the same component, except it's altered to solve for the present value, the starting value. And then with $14,202.68, or you can use this calculator here. Okay. So for future value, you want to have 20,000 in the account, and the interest rate is 4.9%, and the number of years is 7 years. Compound frequently, compounded monthly. So how much you need to have in the account? You need to have $14,202.68 into your account, and there's that part there. And that takes care of question 10. Now we go to question 11. Suppose you want to buy a home for $143,000. You found a bank that offers a 30-year loan at 5.1%. It's a 30-year loan. What will your monthly payment be? So I'm using a mortgage formula here. Payment formula. So I have my principal at 143, a rate at 5.1. And that's a decimal. That's what you use. 0.051 in monthly. N is 12 and T is 30. So I wrote up my formula here, and I plugged into it, and I end up with $776.42. Or I could use this link here to find that. This is 143. And the life of it is 30 years, and the interest rate is 5.1. You calculate, you get $776.42. Okay. And let's go to the next part of it. How much would you end up paying the bank back? So the total repaid is going to be the payment times the number of months times the number of years, which is 776 times 12 times 30, and it comes to be $279,511.20, which is right there. Suppose you want to reduce the life of the loan to 5 years. What will your new monthly payments be? They're going to go up to compensate for that. So there's my formula there, and I plug into it, and that's what I end up with here. Or I can use this calculator. Mm-hmm. 30 years and the rate here. In this case, it's 25 years now. Interest rate is 5.1. And I end up with $844.32. So then they want to know the total amount repaid. That's going to be the payment amount times the number of months in the year times the number of years. Total repaid here. So it's going to be the 844 times 12 times 25, which is $253,296. And how much is savings? The difference between the two repaids. Okay, so 279,000 minus 253,000 gives you about approximately $26,215.20, which is what they have there for that one, number 11. Next one is number 12. Number 12, Steve and Claire are married and both lived and worked in North Carolina for the entire 2013 tax year. The total adjusted gross income was $74,000, and they qualified for standard deduction of $6,000 and exemption of $2,500 per person. Used the following 2011-2013 tax rate schedule taken from the website there to calculate her 2013 tax. Okay, so we see that their adjusted gross income is $74,000, less the adult standard deduction. Then they had two exemptions for $5,000, so the total taxable income was $63,000. And you look for their rate here. And taxable income is more than $21,000 here, and less than $100,000. So this is going to be their rates here. $1,275 plus 7% of the amount over $21,000. So, and that's what I have here. $1,275 plus 7% of the amount over $21,000. Okay. And there's the amount there, $2,900. So the total tax is $4,197.50. Round to the nearest dollar, you know, with $41.98, which is what they have here. Okay. And then they ask more questions there. What is their tax rate? So they paid $41.98 in taxes. The taxable income was $6,500. So they end up with 6.7% for the effective tax rate. Okay. Problem 13. What is the simple interest rate on $2,500? Investment paying $980.93 in 14.5 years. So I'm using simple interest formula, and they wanted to know the rate, so I solved it for R in the beginning. So I'm given what my interest is, $988.93, and my principal is given in the beginning, $2,050, and the time interval is 14.5 years. When I simplify that expression, I end up with 3.3%. That is the rate. The last problem. You deposit $1,370 in a savings account, paying 2.4% simple interest. How much will you earn in 5 years? So I'm using a simple interest formula. I is equal to PRT, where P is 1370. My R is 2.4%, so it's 0.024, and T is equal to 5. So when I plug in the amount of interest and I multiply, the amount of interest is $164.40. Excuse me. So the future value is going to be the principal plus the interest $1,370 plus $164.40 gives me $1,534.40, and that's the answer to the last part of 14.